If you're leading at a high level and your days feel more crowded than intentional, I'm opening something new for you. The Women's Executive Leadership Lab is launching now in beta. It's a small, practical community for experienced women who want to develop the systems that support strategic action, not constant crisis, who want to learn how to delegate with confidence, knowing the work will be done to your standard and timeline, and connect with other amazing women who are shaping industries and improving lives. Head to womenleadwell.net/well to learn more. Welcome to Joyfully Unstoppable, the podcast for women who are ready to succeed without the stress. Whether you're leading a team, a classroom, a boardroom, or your own big, beautiful life, I am so glad you found us. I'm your host, Becky Hamm, leadership coach, speaker, and founder of Women Lead Well. Each week, we'll explore what it means to lead joyfully, sustainably, and authentically, even in a world that tells you to hustle harder and prove your worth. You carry a lot. Let's help it feel lighter. So, y'all, I am so excited. If you follow me on social media, you have seen me posting about the Women's Executive Leadership Lab. It is a new membership program that kicks off Thursday with our very first group coaching call. And to say that I am excited about it, delighted about it, in awe of it would be an understatement. I'm really freaking excited. So, launching a membership program was not on my 2026 bingo card. That was not, I did a real deep dive strategic planning session toward the end of 2025. And I had identified the courses that I was going to develop this year and really focus on my coaching practice, courses, and then speaking engagements. But I kept hearing from this community, both who listen to the podcast, my coaching clients, people who follow me on social media, the conferences that I was speaking at, that women, particularly senior women, so women who have been leading for 10, 15, 20 plus years, that there is a real desire for intentional community. It can be lonely. Anyone in a senior leadership position, it can be lonely. But particularly when you're a woman, you can feel incredibly isolated. And that message kept coming to me from various conversations that I would have one-on-one with women, or when a group of women leaders would come together to talk about a different topic. This theme of isolation and loneliness and not having a tribe to lean on professionally kept coming up. And so, I really wanted to be of service. Like, the whole reason I do what I do is to help women excel, right? To help women pursue their passions and enjoy themselves as they do it. And so I thought, well, why not? Let's launch a membership. That could be fun, right? I could really enjoy it. And so that's what we're doing. Women's Executive Leadership Lab. I did not try to make the acronym spell well, like Women Lead Well, the company. But when that happened, I said, okay, here we go. That's perfect. I love it. So if you are interested in learning more about Well, you will find a link in the show notes. I'm really excited about it. It will launch, again, depending on when you listen to this episode. Our first group coaching call is on the 12th, and then there'll be 2 group coaching calls a month. I'm going to do weekly, quote unquote, office hours where I will be on a Zoom call. And so if members want kind of on the spot one-to-one coaching, we can do little mini one-to-one coaching calls. I'll be building out a content library. The whole focus for Well is for experienced women leaders. And so here I am talking women who have been in leadership roles for 10, 15, 20 plus years, who feel stuck in task manager role or action officer role, that they are stuck doing the work as opposed to leading their teams and delegating so that they can focus on the strategic work of their chunk of the organization. Some of the women in the organization are CEOs, and so they oversee the entire organization. And so being stuck in the weeds, being stuck in the details of operations, as opposed to taking that strategic perspective and working your teams who are doing the operations, that can really, one, limit your ability to take advantage of strategic opportunities and make progress toward your organization's strategic goals. And two, I mean, that could burn you out pretty quick. It's not necessarily fun to experience yourself as the senior leader. And so that's what we're doing inside of Well. The content will focus on how do you prioritize your time and your tasks? How do you delegate effectively so the work gets done to your standard and on your timeline? How do you build your team in a way that they actually support your decision-making and your action? And then how do you provide the support that your team members need so that they can function effectively and continue to grow and develop as they meet whatever kind of operational milestones or goals that you have for them for the quarter or for the year? And then finally, because again, I'm talking about more senior women, how do you clarify authority? You remember last week's episode was all about authorities as I was thinking through this portion of the membership. But how do you clarify authority with your various stakeholders? Many of the women in the founding cohort of Well, they report to boards, right? So board management is a core responsibility that they hold. And so making sure that they can communicate effectively with their boards and process feedback from the boards effectively is vital to their success. And again, to their enjoyment of the leadership process. Boards can really stress you out. Over the years in my various roles, I have managed boards. I have been I serve on a governing board for a seminary up in Wesley Theological Seminary up in DC. I love it. And so it's that relationship with your board is special. It can be really enjoyable and lovely. And so how do you create that form of a relationship with your board as opposed to one that is more stressful and maybe reactive and sometimes acrimonious? So if you're interested in learning more, check it out. Again, the link is in the show notes below. But what I want to talk about today is this facet of community. And it's why I organized Well as a membership as opposed to just another course, even a group coaching program. It's because these conversations that I've had with particularly senior women, but across the board, is that there is this yearning for connection and community. And it was interesting several years ago when I worked for the Department of then Defense, when I worked for the Marine Corps, I was in a talk with a very senior retired 4-star. And he was talking about his time in service. And he is a household name. If you know anything about the military over the last 20 years, you would know this individual, instrumental in the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, and mentioned in his conversation that I was in how lonely it was to be a senior leader in the military because there are just not that many 4-stars. And there's Congress limits the number that there can be. And when you operate at that level, you're pretty stinking busy. And so you feel guilty about calling a friend of yours who might be another 4-star, who might be able to walk you through, think through a thorny problem that you're noodling with, because you know that person has as much on their plate as you do, and there's not time for that. And that stuck with me in the moment, because at the time what I was thinking was, that is really painful for the individual, but damaging, or there's real vulnerability for the organization, that if senior leaders if there's nobody that they can bounce ideas off of with or noodle through thorny problems with, then they're only stuck with their own reasoning, their own thinking. Wow, like that's really limiting to the type of strategic level thinking that we expect from these individuals. And of course, they're great people who were chosen to serve at that level. So it's not like they show up and they don't have any idea what they're doing, right? They have been vetted at every level from the time they turned 18 or 21, 22 when they come into service as officers till the time they reach that period. But still, all of us think better when we can do it with somebody else. And so I was really struck by that in the moment. And it continues to resonate with me as I have shifted to work with women, to serve women, because it is so true for so many women leaders, particularly as we grow more senior. LinkedIn just released data a couple weeks ago that shows that while women represent 45% of the global workforce, it's more that in the United States, women are the majority of the overall workforce. Women comprise only 31% of VP level roles and above. So again, in the US, we're over 50% of the workforce, but we don't even have a third of the VP or more senior level roles. And what's worse is that the trend is moving in the wrong direction. Women's share of senior leadership peaked in 2022, and it's been on a decline for the past 3 years. When you add to that return to office mandates that have been on the rise over the past 12 months, we know that that is contributing, one, to women exiting the workforce. Big studies on that released toward the end of last year. But two, for those women who stay in the workforce, increased stress on those leaders. And then three, I haven't seen this as well documented, but I'm going to go out on the limb and say it. Three, potential for increased bias in hiring actions at those more senior levels, especially because we know at those more senior levels, your expectation is not a traditional 9 to 5. The expectation is greater in terms of the commitment senior level leaders make in their presence and in the time and the energy that they bring to organizations. And we see this across industries. I spoke at the American Council of Education's Women's Network Leadership Conference a couple of weeks ago, and this shrinking of senior level opportunities for women was a real topic of conversation there. Women are feeling their opportunities shrinking, declining, the number of opportunities declining, and the challenge, the hurdles that they have to clear in order to make it into one of those opportunities growing. Another huge topic of conversation was the loneliness of being a woman in a leadership role. And so today, I want to, one, validate your need for community. And then two, I want us to talk about the different types of community that you deserve to have as a leader. And I see three. There could be more, but I'm seeing three. One, you deserve to have community with your peers. And now that might be other women in the same place in your industry. So Women in International Security brings together women, I guess, across levels of seniority from like interns all the way up to senior leaders. But women in the international security space, women in cybersecurity, women in medicine, women in whatever, industry-specific women's groups. These connections help you feel rooted, right, and go deep in your industry. They allow you to share experiences with other women who get it, right? Other women who may have a very similar experience to you. I would say by contrast, there is also real value in being connected to women outside of your industry. This helps to broaden your understanding of how women navigate challenges, right? Potentially from different perspectives. And so, Women's Executive Leadership Lab is one opportunity to do that. I built it intentionally to bring together women from different industries so that you can learn from one another and feel that connection of professional, amazing women, potentially also with a little bit more anonymity. If you're in an industry-specific group, people might know each other, right? And you might feel, well, people will know each other, but you might feel a little more reluctant to share some of the challenges you face because potential future employers might be in the conversation. Whereas if you move outside of your specific industry, then you might have a little more protection to be candid about what you're struggling with, because these are women, I've got in the founding members of Well, I've got all sorts of different people from different backgrounds. Well, they would never come into contact otherwise. And so they can have a little more trust being candid with each other because nothing's getting back, right? So that's that first kind of community. If you want to do it within your industry or if you want to do it outside of your industry, just having some sort of a community of women professionals who you identify as your peers. Second type of community that I'm going to tell you is super important. That is a community with your mentors and advocates. What do I mean by that? I mean, you absolutely deserve to have mentors, individuals, women and men, not only women, men as well, who have been where you are now, who can speak from experience about the challenges and the questions and the uncertainties and the confusions that you now grapple with, and who you feel safe sharing candidly your challenges and fears and uncertainties with. Those are your mentors, that trust relationship, someone who has been there and done that and can advise you. Different from coaching, and we talk about coaching other places, so I'm not going to talk about that right now. But when I'm talking about the community, having your mentors, more than one, I would recommend, who can really help give you that sage advice, sage counsel. But you also deserve a community of advocates. And we see it in social media. You'll see not a meme, but the quotes about surround yourself with people who will say good things about you in rooms that you are not in. That's a terrible quote, but it's something like that. You want a community of advocates too. They are the people who will recommend you for the promotion or recommend you for the assignment or talk you up with a potential client. You want that community too. Mentors who are going to tell you what to do, advocates who are going to throw down for you, go to the mat for you, advocate for you and your opportunities. Because as those opportunities are shrinking, and again, that's just what the data is telling us, as those opportunities are shrinking, it becomes increasingly important that you as a woman have more and more layers of positive messaging surrounding you. And your advocates can do that. And then the third and final community that I want us to talk about today has absolutely not one stinking thing to do with you professionally. And that is, you deserve to have a community outside of work. And you really, really do. And this can be hard, right? Particularly, if you're listening to this, you're probably in that sandwich generation where you've got kids of some level of grown and out of the house. But even if they're out of the house, the way things work today, even your adult kids, you are probably still involved in their lives. I hope you're involved in their life in some way. And then you've potentially got your parents, right? You've got other caregiving responsibilities. And you've got work. And if you're listening to this podcast, you probably are committed to your professional development and growth. You probably continue to have professional ambition. And so you're trying to do a good job because you see a future for yourself professionally. When you add all of that up, it doesn't leave a whole lot of time just for you, the woman, for your interests, for your relaxation and just connection with another human because they're another human. But my sweet friend, you deserve that, right? Humans were created as social beings, even the introverts. We crave human connection, not transactional connection, human connection. And so if you don't have that community of men and women who you can just enjoy spending time with that doesn't have anything to do with your job, with your professional obligations, then I would encourage you to cultivate that community. You deserve it. You will benefit from it. You will enjoy it. And the people you're in community with will enjoy it and benefit from it, and they deserve it too. Now, we've talked about, Women's Executive Leadership Lab. I built that to focus primarily on community with peers, right? And so in the founding group, we've got women from a bunch of different sectors, each of whom has decades of leadership experience mostly within male-dominated spaces, and all of these women desire to lead at a high level. They're ambitious, they're thoughtful, they're committed to their growth. And that is that unifying glue that makes the membership cohesive. It's not the industry-specific connection. And it is the woman connection, but it's not only the woman connection. It's that even more refined filter of a particular type of woman who's been in the game for a while, who is already good at what she does, but is looking to refine and move to that next level and do it in community with other amazing women who are a lot like her. So I'm excited about it. And look, I'm not trying to sell you on, well, there might be a community that is better for you. What I am trying to sell you on in this episode today is that you deserve community. You deserve all three types of community. And that because of all the pressures on all of our lives, you're going to need to be intentional about finding those communities and then cultivating them over time. I solved that problem with Well, right? You join the membership and the community is there. But regardless, my point is just to say, find your peers, find your mentors, find your advocates, find your personal connections. And all of those will help keep you motivated, encouraged, accountable as you go. It's important. You deserve it. This is leadership for the long haul, and I want you to have it. So that is what I wanted to talk with you about today. Shifting gears. If you have more on your to-do list than you have time in your schedule, then I hope you'll join me next week when we're going to explore how to prioritize so all of your glass balls stay safely in the air. You're not going to want to miss it. And if this episode spoke to you, I would love for you to share it with a friend. We need more women leading from alignment, not adrenaline. And please don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you could leave a review, I would really appreciate it. It really helps. Those reviews, it sounds silly, but those reviews really are instrumental in all the different podcast platforms pushing Joyfully Unstoppable out to new listeners who might benefit from it. So it would mean a lot to me. Thank you. Also, you can always grab one of our free resources like the values clarification exercise, the weekly reset routine, and the mental load reset. All of that is available on the Women Lead Well website, and I'll link them in the show notes below. Remember, joyful, sustainable, and authentic leadership is possible, and you deserve to enjoy every minute of it. Until next time, I'm Becky Hamm, and this is Joyfully Unstoppable.